Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and here's my first card using the contents of the new Simon Says Stamp April 2018 card kit, or some of the contents. I didn't use everything. I did use this amazing rainbow pattern paper. I had to cut that up the second I could. So I die cut it with the largest of the Simon Says basic rectangle wafer dies, which is A2 size this die, so it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then after I die cut it with that, I wanted to cut a circle out of it to stamp the sentiment. So I chose one of the nested circle dies, and again I'm going to just tape the die into place on the pattern paper, just using a couple little pieces of washi tape, and then I ran that through my Gemini Junior, so now I've got this fun little circle cutout. And then for my little main images, I had cut down some of the 120-pound Simon's Extra Smooth Fabulous White cardstock. And I'm putting it in my mini MISTI because I'm going to stamp several of the images from the set here. So I just laid them out on this piece of cardstock. And then once I was happy with how many images I had on there, I closed the lid of my mini MISTI, and then I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool so that I can stamp these images with Simon's clear embossing ink. So I'm going to ink these up. You can't see anything really when I'm stamping it on white with the clear. And then I'm going to heat emboss it with the white, which you still can't really see a whole lot. But stamp that with the clear ink, and then I'm going to coat this with some white embossing powder. And then once I've got everything coated, I can melt it with my heat tool. And thankfully I was holding everything at an angle so you can actually kind of see it here on screen, because even white on white, this never gets old. Like, heat embossing images, watching that embossing powder melt is just fun. So melted everything with my heat tool. So now I've got these white heat embossed images on this white cardstock because I want to use the two new Distress Oxide inks that come in the kit. I've been waiting for the Squeeze Lemonade Oxide ink since the beginning. It is one of my favorite colors. So I pulled that out, and I'm using mini ink blending tools today. You do get a blending brush, but I wanted the two separate tools just because I was kind of experimenting here. So I'm just sponging I'm starting with the Squeeze Lemonade. I'm just sponging that over top of the images. Not being too careful. I'm not worried about like getting a nice blend or anything. I am going to trim out all these images, so I'm not worried about making a mess here. I just want the color on the images. And then after I did the yellow, I'm adding the blue here, this Mermaid Lagoon. And on the leaves especially, I'm just kind of layering the colors so that it creates more of a green. And then on the butterflies, I'm keeping the colors a little more separate, but letting them kind of blend into each other. So you get like tricolor, basically. You're getting a blue and a bit of green and a yellow. And if I had wanted to, like if I'd pulled out some more distress things, I could really have had fun with the color in that, but I tried to stick as close to what you get in the kit as possible. It's hard sometimes because I do want to pull out like everything and have a ton of fun. So I just sponged on the color till I was happy with how everything was looking. I made the leaves a little bit more green by adding another layer of the yellow on top. And then once I was happy with all of that, I just took a tissue and rubbed it against all of this, and that just removed that ink from the white heat embossing. So you can see there it makes it more white again, so it's not covered by that ink. And then I trimmed everything out with just my scissors. And then my card base is that same heavy-duty white cardstock. So I'd cut the sheet in half, so it's 4 1/4 by 11, so I'm going to score it at 5 1/2 with my Teflon bone folder. So I've got a top folding A2 sized card. And once I've got that, I'm going to put this back into my mini MISTI with that pattern paper because I want to make sure I stamp the sentiment exactly where I want it. So I'm just going to hold everything in place with my magnet. And then I'm going to line up my sentiment, and I'm going to stamp this with Simon's Intense Black ink. And because this is a brand new stamp, a lot of times it helps to ink it up more than once and stamp it more than once to get a really good crisp image. So that's what I did here. It stamped almost perfectly, but it's still nice sometimes to get that double stamping to really intensify it. So I had done that, and then I pulled it out, kind of laid everything out, and then I put it back in my MISTI again because I decided to stamp the two little solid butterfly images from the set onto the pattern paper again with the black ink. I thought that would just kind of tie it all in. So I lined everything up again in my MISTI. Nothing's been adhered as of yet because I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. So I inked up the butterflies, and these, because they were solid, I did want to stamp twice to make sure they stamped really good and crisp. And then I opened the card here, and I'm going to stamp another sentiment from the set, and kind of figure out where I'm going to place my other little elements that I had embossed and sponged with ink. So once I'm happy with that placement, I'm going to ink up that stamp and stamp that onto the inside of the card. And then to start adhering all of these, I'm going to adhere that little cluster of leaves and that butterfly using Simon's Craft Tacky Glue. So just little dabs of that glue is more than enough. So I just put dabs of that on and adhered the leaves and then adhered that butterfly to the inside of the card. And then for the outside of the card, I'm just going to use a tape runner to adhere the pattern paper flat. I did think about popping this up with a bunch of foam tape, which would look really cute too because it just sets it off. But I decided to adhere this flat since all these other little elements were getting adhered over it. So I adhered that to my card base, and then I'm going to add more little dabs of that Craft Tacky Glue. I'm going to adhere this leaf and these two butterflies. So I just add little dabs of the glue kind of to the larger areas. This glue doesn't really ooze out very much like other glues. It's very, like it says, it's a tacky glue. It's pretty thick. So I just use tiny little dabs of it, and then I just kind of press it and hold it for a few seconds, and it's good to go. So I did that with the cluster of leaves and then with both of these butterflies here, just adding the little dabs. And I was going to leave it at this. You know, this is just, you know, kit contents and your ink. But I couldn't resist. I needed a little bit of bling, just a bit. So I pulled out the Simon Says Stamp Assorted Moonstone Sequins and just kind of sprinkled those rather liberally across my card front here. And once I was happy with that, I'm just going to pick them up with my little crystal katana and then put down little dabs of that Craft Tacky Glue and press those into place, and that's going to finish off this card. So once this glue dries, everything is good and adhered solid, and that's going to finish off my card. And as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have links to all the supplies used. As of posting this video, the kit is still available, but I will have links to everything individually because this kit is going to sell out very quickly. But I will have links to everything, so you can check that out below as well as on my blog. Thank you all so much for watching and subscribing and thumbs upping and commenting on my videos. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!